Okay, so we're going to go ahead and carve. Right now your project should look like this, okay, where you have this drawn. You do want to go back and erase and get rid of all of the lines that you don't want to be there, okay? If you have them there, then what happens is your brain just is going to tell you to carve them, okay? It's there, and you'll carve over it, and then you'll have to fix it later. So it's better just to go through, get the majority of it where you can at least differentiate between what you are carving and what is the background of this. Okay, so I'm going to go through, just erase these 4, and I have some that kind of went away when I sponged, but get rid of those. You might still see the graphite on there, but after this goes through the kiln, you won't see it. So you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that will work for the rest of this, or to move on to the next part. We're going to use one of these carving tools. It has 2 sides to it. So one side is a thicker gauge wire, okay, and one side is a smaller gauge. Let's see if I can focus on this. I don't know if it's going to let me. So you want to use the smaller side. I put tape on the side that is smaller to like try and help you realize, hey, this is the side you need to carve with, okay? And so I'm going to carve on this just to talk about a few things before we do it. You need to carve with the tool where it's open to the top, okay? So you should be able to see, let's see if it'll, you should be able to carve, you want it to be this direction, okay? So when you carve, you're removing a piece of clay, okay? So like this section is coming out. I have so many people who they will take this, they'll put it sideways, and they'll go through and draw like this. They'll go over every single thing that they did, and they're not actually taking any clay out. So the glaze is going to just cover this up. All right, so you need to make sure that as you carve, you are taking clay out of there. Now, you don't want to be where you're barely taking anything, because if there's barely a groove there, you sponge it off, it's going to go away. You don't want to be the opposite either. Some people will put this in and they will carve like a huge piece out of every single section. They're like chopping it up into little pieces. This is, I mean, very close to 1/4 of an inch thick. Okay, and you cannot forget that this pot is only 1/4 of an inch thick. It's not solid, right? It might look like it's solid right now, but this is hollow. If you carve like this, you are going to have a problem. Okay, you're going to make walls that are going to collapse. Okay, so think about how you're holding this, and then using something to guide this along is always a good thing, because then you can drag it and it's always going to be straight. Okay, if you're just freehanding it, then it's probably going to look a little wiggly and it's not going to be as precise. Okay, so if you are using the ruler, then you would want to offset it just a little bit, put it to the side, and then you would be able to carve and take that piece of clay out. Okay, you should be able to feel that you carved something out. You should be able to see that you carved something out. And if you needed to go back over it, you could. Okay, and most of this, you're probably going to have to carve a couple of times. Okay, and that's just how it is. Okay, you're not going to get it perfect the first time. Okay, but if you are using that ruler, make sure you turn the tool the right direction and guide it along. This is going to have clay get stuck like in this. You might have to like pinch and pull that extra piece out. Okay, so let me get some of this so then I can show you the rest. Okay, so I have at least the outsides of those. I need to do the inside. And so you could do all of like the same section so you don't have to keep moving it. But I'm going to carve over everything one time and show you what it looks like. Okay, so brush that off. You are going to get a lot of like crumbly pieces from this, and this cannot go on the floor. Okay, if you look at like what I have right here, once this sits for a while, it's going to get dry. You can just dump it in your slip, right? It'll dissolve real fast. But please don't put it on the floor. If you have a bunch of it left at the end of the hour, it needs to go in that dry clay container, because you can see if this is how much I have, multiply this by, I don't know, like 55 kids for this box project, and that's a lot of clay. Okay, so it really adds up. Right now, and when you have this on your table, you don't want to have this be something that you're sitting your pot in, right? You're going to have to keep clearing it off the table, because if you flip it over and you have a nice side and then you put it down on the table, you could have all this stuff all stuck in it and you're going to have to clean it up. Okay, so be careful. I'm going to take a sponge now to this top part, and it's going to make it look better, but then it's also going to highlight some of the places that you need to fix. Okay, so hang with me. Keep watching, Braxton. So I'm going to sponge this off. This is going to get the surface, like those places that I talked about, that I had like cleaned up good enough. But you can see like these surfaces look better, but you can see where my carving, I need to help and fix some of those places. So it's like you're recarving some of the places that you didn't get all of the clay out. Okay, and it's going to get stuck in that, and you're just going to have to keep cleaning that tool. Okay, knock all that clay out of the grooves, and just that helps, but you're probably going to have to go back and sponge it again. Okay, even like some of these, this will refine it and make it look better. And then the next time you sponge it, it's going to be even cleaner than it was. Okay, so you just continually work on it and clean up those places that you see that don't look good. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at and what we're going to do next. I have a few people that are ready to do that. I need to look at it, and then I can give them a tool to work with. And then that tool needs to come back up to me, right, at the end of the hour.